All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started. It's October 21st, 2024. And many believe going into this election that this will be about good versus evil. And many well-intentioned, that's not the word I'm looking for, people with good intentions actually believe that they are voting for good in this election. Apparently, there was a rally here in the city that I live in, which is very rural. And there were apparently busloads of Kamala Harris people at what I guess was like a rally or something. And apparently it looked as if there was a lot of support for Biden and for Harris and Walz. So a lot of people are in fear now. Now, I think that this is all by design. I think that they bust these people in to give the illusion that there is some chance that there is popularity with Harris. And I think it's meant to trigger the people on the right. Here we are in rural Arkansas, really way up in the hills. And they had a huge crowd of people to support Harris. I think it's all staged. And it's meant to finally make you consent. And the people that are voting actually believe that they are voting for good versus evil. In fact, many people believe this is biblical. We're going to get into that today. The biblical aspects of Trump. We're going to get into the verses of the Bible that talk about God raising up kings and deposing kings. We're going to try to figure out what all that means. Because some people literally believe that Trump was appointed by God to fight the good fight. We'll break that down. Also, we're going to talk about the border wall today that is still being built right now. You never know that by watching the mainstream news, but the border wall never stopped being built, even under Biden over the last 4 years. We're going to talk about what that means and how that affects you and me. Now, I first caught wind of the whole border wall thing from one of you in the comments section. I try to read through most of the comments in the comments section. One of the benefits of YouTube's unintended consequences of reducing our viewership as they have is that now I can read more of your comments and interact more with you guys. So that's a good thing, right? Our group is smaller and tight knit. But one of you actually lives in Alaska and you work for a company who is actually building the border wall. And you're like, they never stopped building it. Now, I didn't believe it at first, so I did my own research. Now, the purpose here of today's show is not to give credit to the left or to defend Biden or Harris because they are still building the border wall. That's not the purpose here. The purpose here is to show you the bipartisan effort, both sides working together, but giving the illusion that they hate each other. Now, if you were continuing a plan that Trump put in place to continue building the wall, wouldn't the first thing that you would do in a debate would be to say to the other side or to say to Trump that, hey, I'm still building your wall. Wouldn't you say that to try to bridge some gaps with the other side, to try to get people to come to your side? Right? I mean, that just makes sense to me. Now, we all know that the right-left paradigm is in effect. And we know that the left pretends to be sympathetic to the immigrants, don't they? But yet the wall continues. Trump's main argument against the left in the debates is that Harris would be soft on the border and is letting immigrants spill over with her policies. And that's true. in terms of the deportation policy, right? But the slam dunk here for the left would be to lay out their plan to continue to repair and strengthen the border. Why won't they talk about that? It's very curious, isn't it? Now, my point here is that both sides are being intentionally ambiguous, and that the border wall is secretly a bipartisan project. And that should set off alarm bells to anybody paying attention. And as I've mentioned before, the border issue remains murky. And in my opinion, it's for one reason: so that the solution of biometric ID can be implemented, and then they can roll out the rest of it to Americans. And then, with the border wall in place, coupled with biometrics, it becomes an impenetrable electronic fence that nobody can escape from. You guys, the deck is already stacked against Americans. We're bleeding out jobs to other countries. It's almost intentional at this point. We don't make anything anymore. Essentially, they've taken away labor in America. They've sold us out to all the other countries. Why isn't someone standing up about this? Now, I know Trump claimed to try to make America great again by creating jobs here. But while he was saying that, companies were still expatriating to other countries and sending all our labor outside of the country. Now, if you think you can leave the country and go live in a different country, well, they've buttoned all that up too. Now, I know that Trump talked about not taxing expatriates, but even that's a little bit weird, isn't it? Because that would mean that they're not in America. If we're making America great, wouldn't the play be to have them come back? Wouldn't the play be, hey, we're going to make it so you don't have to go over there? Now, they've circled the wagons on this whole expat thing. And there was a time, as you guys know, I lived overseas for a couple years. And it was a great experience. But I finally decided the only place for me to be in these last days would be somewhere in America. That's how I found the spot I'm in now, because believe it or not, you are exposed in those countries. You become exposed. Why? Because typically the economies in those places where the Americans live anyway has nearly equalized with our own. In other words, they caught on and they now charge Americans just as much as they would pay here for living expenses, for food, and all these things. Some of these places have two price lists. So they have a price for the people that live there, and then they have a price for the gringos, they call us. Now, America is bleeding out. We suffer illegal immigration, which further erodes our quality of life and bears a heavy burden on our benefit system. The jobs continue to leave our country. Americans are literally under attack. And that didn't change much under Trump. The rhetoric sounded great, but it didn't change much, because if it did, it wouldn't still be happening. The wall's going up around us, and winter is coming. Just like in Game of Thrones. Remember the ice wall in Game of Thrones? You guys, they're already telling us that the extreme winters is because of climate change. They're already telling us that winter is coming. And look at the skies in this graphic here from Game of Thrones, the ice wall, the purple rain in the sky, the lavender. It's like they knew. Could you imagine a frozen southern border like in Game of Thrones, with the purple rain in the skies It all seems to be happening right now, doesn't it? Now, what is going on with the border wall? Let's read some of this so you see the proof, so you know I'm not making all this up. Border wall construction continues with additional contract for $1.2 billion project. This was in 2020, March. And it says United States Corps of Engineers issued Southwest Valley Constructors a contract modification worth $524 million for design build services on a barrier wall replacement project in Tucson, Arizona. The change brings Southwest contract amount for the project to almost $1.2 billion when combined with the May 2019 initial contract award of $646 million for the same project. So this was in 2020, which of course the project was slated for well into Biden and Harris. I'm just taking you along the timeline here. This is August 29th, 2024. Kamala Harris would spend millions on U.S.-Mexico border wall construction. The U.S. Vice President and presidential candidate Kamala Harris has said that, if elected, she would commit to spending hundreds of millions of dollars to construct a border wall between the U.S. and Mexico. The detail emerged in the follow-up Harris DNC speech in Chicago. In that speech, she said she would sign into law as president a bipartisan border security bill, which includes standards and specifications for a $650 million construction work for the border wall. Now, she had flip-flopped from what she previously said. At first, she said Trump's construction was a complete waste of taxpayer money, that his wall design required storm gates to be left open for months to mitigate flooding effects. So she's saying she can build a better wall than Trump. Do you see the game they're playing here? The end result is that they're both building walls. And that, again, should send alarm bells. Now, see if we can get into this paywall here. Boy. It's always something, huh? These people. Oh, we got to go back home here. All right. A lot of these news stories now are behind paywalls. What to know about the Texas border wall and who's building it. This was 2023, right? Smack dab in the middle of Biden Harris. Republican lawmakers are still considering a proposal this fall to spend another $1.5 billion on the historic effort to build a wall along Texas' southern border. So we talked about Arizona, now here's Texas. Governor Greg Abbott, the $1.5 billion windfall would roughly double what the state already has budgeted for the wall. So states are well on their way to continue building the walls as well. I'll put links to all this for you guys, but nothing's really changed. Now you could say Trump spent far more, but the fact is that they're all building the wall. Now, something weird happened yesterday that reinforces this clown meme. Trump showed up to a McDonald's, asked for a job, and then started cooking French fries. Now, this was in an attempt to shame Kamala Harris, who claimed she had worked at McDonald's when she was younger. They found out she probably never did. There was no proof of it. But Trump decided to upstage her yesterday. Now, as I watched this clip of Trump entering the McDonald's, asking for a job, it was actually kind of funny. You know, Trump is a showman. He's good at this. He's good at getting people to watch him and listen to him. And I found myself laughing because people couldn't believe that the former president of the United States showed up to McDonald's to apply for a job and was going to cook French fries for a shift. I was like, wow. But then I woke up this morning and I realized there was a little bit more serious aspect to this playing out in this ritual. The Ronald McDonald meme. Now, Trump has to know this. He has to know this. I'm going to check in with you guys. We're going to play this clip and listen to what he says and what he's talking about. And then we'll talk about some of the spiritual aspects of what this is probably all about. Ronald McDonald. Good morning, everybody. Wow. Now, what you're going to hear next, Trump actually specifically asks to work the French fry counter. Now, I used to run the fries, amongst other things, when I worked at McDonald's. And yes, I really did work at McDonald's when I was in high school. But there's an aspect to these French fries. And Trump's fascination with the French fries, he loves the French fries. So we're going to talk about that after we watch this clip. Here we go.
Here we go.
Hello, everybody.
Sir.
My first day at McDonald's. I'm looking for a job.
Hello, President Trump. I'm Derek Jackie Matoni. I'm the owner.
Well, that's a good owner. Must be a wealthy guy, huh? Thank you very much. Well, I'm looking for a job, and I've always wanted to work at McDonald's, but I never did. I'm running against somebody that said she did, but it turned out to be a totally phony story. So, if you don't mind, I want to work the French fry counter.
Absolutely.
Okay, how much are you paying me?
How much are you paying?
Hello, everybody.
Indy is here. This is Indy. She has an apron for you.
Oh,
Job on your first
I
day,
think I should take
President Trump.
Should I take off my jacket? I think so. The press wants to see this. Oh, you. He's a wealthy guy. He owns a lot of McDonald's. That's great. Thank you. Okay. That's good. You want to do that? Yeah.
Mr. Trump, what's your favorite thing to order at McDonald's?
I like it all. I like every ounce of it, everything. But I do like the French fries where I'll be working. I listened to Kamala. She said it was so hot. It was so hot. It was such a tough job. But don't you have a man that's been doing it for many years at the French fries, right?
I want to learn everything.
We're going to see. I'm going to learn how to do it right now. Thank you.
Welcome here.
So, President Trump, I have
So there you heard it. Bizarre. And I can't even believe this. Now, here are some of the pictures from Trump working the French fry counter at this McDonald's. And of course, a lot of people went through the drive-thru and showed up to get a look at Trump as he's putting these fries out the window. Notice he had this fascination with fries. Well, I looked up the fries, and originally the mascot for the French fries were the Fry Kids. The Fry Kids. Here they are here. Children. And they were anthropomorphic, of course, and basically looked like pom-poms. But look at this. They were originally called goblins. Fitting for this Halloween election, isn't it? For this 5th of November Samhain election. Now, of course, there's also the Ronald McDonald aspect to this that was so popular with kids that he was actually compared to Santa Claus. Ronald McDonald was the second most recognizable figure for children behind Santa Claus. Now, interestingly, the Ronald McDonald image has suffered over the years. Why? Because of childhood obesity, also corporate greed. So a lot of people have made fun of Ronald McDonald, mocked him, because of corporate greed. In other words, they want to cancel Ronald McDonald. Now think about that for a second from a ritual perspective, and Trump going in essentially as Ronald McDonald. Because what happened to Ronald McDonald is a metaphor for the perceived attacks that Trump has come under and them trying to cancel him. It reinforces the ritual, doesn't it? So this was a ritual, of course. The Ronald McDonald Matrix. Whoa. I mean, who could have ever imagined, right? Here's Trump. He actually really did work the fry counter. There he is with his apron at the window. Sure, some people were just shocked. It rolled up and they were like, wow. I wonder if he added the salt to the fries. That's part of it. Something I remember from working the fry counters. You had to put just the right amount. Fries would come out of the grease. You'd stick it on the strainer for a split second, get all the grease off of it, throw it into this warmer, and dash it with some salt. Wow. So, here's some more pictures. He actually put people's order together. Look at this lady. She's in shock. She's like, it's Ronald McDonald. I'm sure some people were a bit confused. They were like, wait a minute. What are you doing here? You guys, this is our reality now. Former presidents. Oh my God. He's almost got clown makeup on. I'm not saying that to make fun of Trump. I'm just saying this is weird. So there he is. Now, for a lot of people, this will seal the deal. They will run to the polls. He's just like us. He's just like us. But to me, this is all a ritual. It's a ritual to seal the deal for what's coming. Whoa, look at that. There he is. Got the fries. Now, yes, the hard part was getting the fry, I don't even know what they called this thing, the fry funnel. Because you got to funnel the fries into the large, medium, and small. I don't even know if they sell medium and small anymore at McDonald's. But I was always criticized because I wanted to fill these up. And then the manager would say, nope, that's too many. There's a certain amount, and there was a perfect way to do it, to make a large fry, perfect portion, because I just wanted to fill it up, give the person as many fries as possible. Anyway, spooky, you guys. Oh, they're actually showing here, too, where he bought McDonald's for, what is this here? He's been a long fan of McDonald's, famously during the governmental shutdown that spilled in 2019, he ordered over 300 hamburgers and fries and other menu items from McDonald's to honor the Clemson Tigers for winning the National College Football Championship that year. Look at all those Big Macs. My goodness. So, it's a thing and it's a meme, and he's playing this role of Ronald McDonald. Now, this leads us to another discussion, a serious discussion about the only place in the Bible that seems to suggest that God was the one who put Trump in power. You all know what I'm talking about. It's Daniel 2:21. Now, there are people that truly believe that Trump is the good side of the battle of good and evil. They don't understand that it is the devil who rules this world. The same kingdoms that he offered to Jesus during the temptation. Yet, Daniel 2 seems to be the only place in the Bible that seems to conflict with the account of Jesus' temptation by the devil, in which the devil offered Jesus the ability to be king of the world. That's supposed to be a role that God has according to Daniel 2. God's supposed to be the one that appoints kings and takes them down. Let's read Daniel 2:21. So you guys can see for yourself. Now let me give you the backdrop of this. The king, Daniel of course is the prophet, and the king at the time, I think this was Nebuchadnezzar, says to Daniel, or basically starts killing off all of his wise men because they couldn't give him the answer to his dream. Daniel then speaks up and says, I can interpret your dream. And this is where we enter the conversation here. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. Seems pretty clear, right? But we're left with a dilemma. the Bible is not supposed to contradict itself. So once again, the devil offered Jesus all the kingdoms of the world, and that would include all the kings with it, so that he could be king here on earth if he bowed in an act of worship. So does that mean that one of these verses is lying? Well, let's continue to break this down. Because the context of the rest of the Bible says very specifically that the whole world is ruled by the devil. It says it actually many places in the Bible. Here's 1 John 5:19. We know that we are children of God and that the whole world is under the control of the evil one. So, how can God appoint kings that are possessed by the devil? It doesn't make any sense, does it? Let's try to figure out why Daniel 2, why there has to be a different interpretation of this. Because it seems pretty clear, doesn't it? But it still contradicts the temptation of Jesus. So I went into the original language, because this is what I do. I go into the concordance and I find maybe if there was some kind of mistranslation of Daniel 2. Maybe they put the wrong word in there. But honestly, I did not find that. I did not find the wrong word. It's pretty clear. God appoints and takes down kings. So what are we left with? We are left with the biblical precedent. Does God allow the king to come to power? It appears as though he does. He appoints them. But does that mean that the king is necessarily good? And this is where we use critical thinking. And this is where we'll have this discussion. We know that God appoints kings, but does this mean that the king is necessarily good by default because God appointed the king? Absolutely not. There were many, many wicked kings, including Pharaoh, that did atrocities to God's people. There were other kings that came after the firstborn to try to kill Jesus himself. Did God appoint that king, King Herod? He absolutely did, according to the book of Daniel. So what's this about? Let's think about it for a bit. Because the only way that both Daniel 2 and the temptation of Jesus can jive, the only way is that kingship is judgment of us, the people. Kingship that God appoints is a form of judgment against us when we are unfaithful. And this goes all the way back to the first kings ever mentioned in the Bible. And God ministered against the people who were asking for a king in the books of Samuel. He said what would happen to us if we chose kings instead of him. So from that point forward, there was judgment. In other words, God said, if you want men to rule you, then this is what's going to happen. And I'm going to appoint the men to rule you. God said bad things would happen if we chose a king. And ever since, God has allowed the kings. And ever since, it's been judgment for our lack of faith in wanting men to rule us instead of God. It's the only way that any of this makes any sense, you guys, if the Bible does not conflict with itself. And this is why Jesus rejected the kingship offered by the devil. And this is why Jesus guided us to pray for God's kingdom to come on earth as it is in heaven, because it undoes our desire for earthly kings. Notice the on earth as it is in heaven. It's a call for us to release our desire for earthly kings and have the heavenly kingdom rule here. I don't think there's any other way to slice this, you guys. So, some people are probably feeling helpless at this point. Casey, if Satan rules this world and all the presidents, what hope is there? The hope is the Lord's Prayer. Let your kingdom come. In other words, reject these appointed kings. Let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. God is waiting for us to have enough faith to actually pray the Lord's Prayer for his heavenly kingdom to come down and rule here on earth as it is in heaven. Wow. Now, tomorrow, you're not even going to believe this. One of you sent this to me. The electric state. The electric state. A new Netflix trailer, and the movie hasn't come out yet. It doesn't come out till 2025. But it stars the Stranger Things star Millie Bobby Brown. And it's all about the Electric Kingdom, which we've been talking about for 5 years. And now they have a movie called The Electric State. Unbelievable. It's about giant robots, virtual reality, and all kinds of stuff. So we'll break all this down tomorrow and give you my thoughts on it. There's also a soundtrack playing, Champagne Supernova, the purple rain, the purple skies, which again is something we've been talking about for about 5 years. It's happening right now in the skies. Now, some people notice that the Northern Lights, that it's weird that you actually have to take a picture of the Northern Lights in order to see them in some of these southern altitudes. And that is weird. Why would you have to take a picture of something to see it? So something is going on, isn't there? And we're here to try to navigate our way through these last days. We know that the media is not telling us the truth. We know that there's a right-left paradigm. We know that not is all as it seems. We also know there's a hidden spiritual aspect to this reality. And these are the things we delve into on this channel if you're new. There are no hard and fast rules. There are no absolutes. But we're doing the best we can to try to figure all this out. I keep our finger on the pulse to see all this play out in the last days. And it has been a fascinating journey, hasn't it? There will come a time where I won't be on here anymore. I already see it coming. But I would hope that some of the work that we've done on this channel has helped as many people as they can see Jesus as real and finally become saved. I would hope that that's the case. We're entering strange times, aren't we? This election is different than any election that I can remember. Even stranger than 9/11. They're talking now. You guys, it's getting weird. I don't know if you've heard this, but Trump is saying that Iran's trying to kill him. And Biden is considering doing a nuclear strike on Iran to take out their nuclear facilities before they can attack Israel. It's getting really weird. Again, bipartisan effort to go after Iran. Anytime something's bipartisan, then you know. So Trump's essentially giving the green light by claiming that Iran's coming after him in these assassination attempts. Do you see the setup? I hope you do, because the assassination attempt on Trump happened with lavender all over it. The lavender ritual that I showed you guys. And that linked in directly to Israel's Lavender artificial intelligence seek and destroy artificial intelligence that uses biometrics from satellites. You zoom in on someone's face and they determine based on their face and their facial recognition or even the disposition of their face that they have become a threat pre-crime, and they're annihilated off the face of the earth. So here we are. See how all this ties in together? Lavender AI, the assassination attempt, who they're saying Iran did, Israel's apparatus, and now the call to go after Iran. Now, here's where things get weird, because if that happens, Trump then has dug his own grave. If he's telling the Democrats to preemptively strike Iran, that would ruin the election. You can't change hands of power during a conflict. The election would be postponed. Why would Trump do that? Why would he do that? Why would he be the fall guy for this? Do you really think that that boy on top of the roof at the Trump rally was really hired by Iran? Do you really, really, really believe that? You would have to be a fool to believe that. We have electronic surveillance. They could easily go back and see where Iran hired this boy. Where did the money come from? Did he have a bunch of money enter his account? Was he buying a bunch of things before this happened? Where did he get the money to do it? Right? I mean, they could make the case that Iran hired this boy to do this if the boy bought $100,000 worth of guns, let's say, and had them all stockpiled in a storage unit. Then you could say, okay, where did this financing come from to do this? Obviously, the boy didn't make this money a certain way. You guys, they have digital records of every transaction. We've seen them do this. It's very easy for them to go back and find the transaction. So what proof is there that the boy was hired by Iran? And why would Trump make that leap and say this and give the Democrats an out to steal the election? Why would he do that? It makes absolutely no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. So here we are on the cusp of something bizarre. They're even saying they're going to do this before the election. So, what a crazy world we live in. All right, I'm back in the chat, you guys. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Black Rock. Yep. Yep, Bill. Getting extremely weird. Sure is, Melody. Trump got free ketchup packets from McDonald's. Wow, like the blood. The world is a stage. Now, here's one more aspect to this that's very, very important to discuss. I know that Putin has drawn many, many red lines, and the NATO has crossed these red lines every single time, and there's really not a huge response from Putin. So we can't really take his threat at his word. But he has said that if we preemptively strike Iran, that he will come to Iran's defense, which would definitely put us on World War III status. Are we going to test Putin and preemptively strike Iran? Well, I guess it all remains to be seen, but I could tell you this. If all this popped off, we would be definitely having to postpone the election. And guess who would be running the nuclear button? Kamala Harris. Could you imagine? And in the fray, let's say let's say the election was postponed, and then Biden dies. Harris is president indefinitely. All because Trump said, hey, we need to go and preemptively strike Iran. It would have been his fault. Because they're after me. They're trying to kill me. No, no, no. That's not what's happening. It's a lie. Again, show me the proof that Iran hired this guy to try to kill Trump. And if Iran actually did, where is our defense apparatus? Why didn't we pick up on that? So, strange times, you guys. Strange times. Now, I don't believe in all this that I'm telling you. I'm just trying to make a point. I don't believe that we are true enemies with Russia. I don't believe all of this. I think it's all just semantics to basically bring everyone under a world order. And they're all pretending to be on the verge of nuclear war because that puts fear in people, right? And then they can manipulate us. So I'm not saying this because I believe that this is actually the case. I'm telling you how they're orchestrating all of this. So, yeah, if we have had elections during other wars. Yes, that is correct, Sue. But there is actually something in the Constitution that talks about this, and it's different this time, especially a war of this magnitude and the start of a war just before an election. That doesn't happen very often. This is the rhetoric they've been pushing. But yes, you're correct. There have been wars during other presidencies. But I think it has something to do with the start of a war right before an election. So, all right. Yes, the herd is being herded. David, correct. Lock her up didn't mean what people thought it did. He locked up Mother Earth. Yes. There was no lockup. I try to explain this to some of the people that I'm friends with here, and they just don't get it. They go, oh, he couldn't lock her up then. I go, well, what about him saying that they were great people after he won the election? Bill and Hillary are great people. And then he applauded them. Well, what about that? No one has any answers. They don't understand how we're getting trolled and played by all this. And they go, oh, he'll get it done now. He couldn't then because he didn't have this or he didn't have that. No, that's the same old excuse that we keep getting every time power changes hands. We couldn't get it done because the other side opposed us. This is what they say. All right, you guys. Well, tomorrow, again, it's called The Electric State. I couldn't even believe it. One of you sent this to me. The Electric State. And it's just the trailer. It's not the full movie yet. The movie doesn't come out till 2025, but I will show that to you guys tomorrow. Love each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take care.